Good morning, this is High Voltage News, March 26th, 2014, with your host, Eugene Kleeper-Roundtree III, featuring Jim Manley from St. Louis, trumpeter with Night of Amnesia. And that was Night in Tunisia with Jim Manley, trumpeter out of St. Louis, Missouri. Do you guys feel like this is a night in amnesia? Well, that's the topic of today's show. I feel as though it might be. When you ask your parents why things are the way that they are, your parents have every right in the world to say that they have been robbed by banks and corporations through the actions of legislators and government bureaucrats. I'll say that again. Your parents have every right to say that the banks and corporations have stolen their money with the help of the government agents. Let me tell you why. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, AIG, TARP, TARP 2, General Motors bailout, foreign aid. Alright, let's pick any one of those. Ding, 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 ding. Alright, we're going to start with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. They tried to make it seem as though people just got into mortgages and just didn't have the money to pay for it. Well, even if that was the argument, all of the bankers should be fired because they weren't looking at the books the right way. And who should lose? The banks. Because they made a bad business deal. So that's only if that argument was actually legal. The other part of it is, your parents, they didn't lose their home because they're dumb, or because they don't work hard, or they're lazy. No. You people who are growing up in this generation, who are probably going through college now, you lost your home, your parents lost your home because of thieves that want to make a profit on the subprime mortgage lending practice. I'll say that again. Subprime mortgage. The whole market is messed up. Just like derivatives, bonds, the LIBOR rate, all of these things are messed up so that there are people in there that can make profits. Banks have outlived their usefulness, and corporations have outlived their usefulness as well. And I'll add to that the government officials that have been in office more than a term or two have also outlived their usefulness. They do not represent you, and they do not represent their state. And I'll tell you why. John Kerry this last week was quoted as saying, "Israel is my number one priority." Is our number one priority. No, and I'll quote Gerald Celente here. Get him out of here. No foreign entanglements. The USA should be your number one priority. The USA is the country you represent. Although, if you think about it, and you look into their own heads, by the actions of theirs and the things that they say, the whole world is their priority because they want to rule the world. Ladies and gentlemen, why should these officials be so global domineering happy? It may seem like a useless rhetorical question, but it's not. Their lust for power is huge. Their lust for greed is huge. They're piggybacking on the bad ideas of people that want to rule everybody. Let me say this again. I'm going to keep repeating myself today, because these are cold, hard facts. Your government officials that have been here longer than a term or two, the Harry Reids, the Nancy Pelosi's, the John Boehners, they do not represent your interests. And they go against everything that George Washington, who was asked to be king of the U.S., who declined it. They go against everything that he stood for. And what was his guiding point? You'll see this in a Gerald Celente video of Trends. He followed the Constitution. He was quoting George Washington. What was his beacon? What was his compass? It was the Constitution. That's why he didn't want to be king of the United States. And that goes to the greater good. he realized that there was nothing to be gained by having one guy rule the show. That's why America was formed. We were getting rid of the King Henrys, the King Georges, the King Edwards, the King Everybody's, the Augustus Caesars. We didn't want that anymore. They thought long and hard about what mankind was capable of when too much power was in their hands, and what mankind was capable of when they could kind of let the power be as small as possible to let freedom reign. Let freedom reign. Now, if you want to go spiritual on this for a second, yeah, I don't care where you sit in the aisle for this, but let's just say good versus evil, God versus Satan, lust for power versus lust for freedom. Let me correct that. Love of freedom. And then you could go into the whole spiritual realm of, are we a flesh vessel for spirits and souls? And if so, where is the beacon for that? Alright, so I'm going to let you think about all of those things right now. But remember this, your parents didn't lose the home that you wanted to grow up in because they were lazy, ill-equipped for the workforce, etc. You have been watching a complete outsourcing of jobs during the last 30 years, maybe longer, and you've watched the banks and the corporations suck up as much money of the tax base as possible. And that's why the United States is rotting from within. And that's why you lost your home that you wanted to grow up in. That bedroom with the window that you loved looking out of, yeah, the banks took that away from you with the help of the government. So we're going to play another track here. We're going to keep going with Jim Manley. We're going to go with a track called Libertango. Libertango. Libertango off of Brass Poison 2, trumpeter from St. Louis. Alright, so I saw a news report today on the Infowars.com website, and it said that the hepatitis drugs that we spend $1,000 a pill for here in America sell for $10 in Egypt. Yes, you heard that right. 1,000 down to 10. How do you feel about that? Obamacare or not, here we come to shovel all of our earnings into your pocket. What else did I see on Infowars.com? Common Core. Students were advised to write the friendly answer instead of the correct answer. And I saw on the example used, instead of writing 200, which would have been instead of writing 300, which would have been the correct answer, they were advised to write 200. Now, I asked myself, okay, this is about Common Core. I asked myself if there's an agenda there, and I also see socialist agendas in play in the U.S. to suck up all of the money from the populace. So I asked myself, what does friendly have to do with the common goal of the bureaucrats? Okay, well, here you go. 3 is a crowd. Somebody gets left out. 2, everybody wins. Is that the friendly thing? I don't know. Something to ponder. But I believe it was Indiana a few days ago ruled Common Core is no longer the state education focus. And that sets the precedent that the states can choose their own education curriculum, which is good anyways. Seriously, we need to shrink federal government and expand state governments. And that's how you keep representation of the population the rule of the day, based on the rules of the Constitution. It's when that federal government becomes too big that they start grasping for power outside of the states, no foreign entanglements. They start looking like an upside-down pyramid. And who suffers? The little tip at the bottom that has no power again. The people. Just like it used to be in centuries past. We're living in probably the most fascinating 300 years for a population. Okay, argue that point from any angle you want, and race bait, get Al Sharpton. It was horrible for slaves, we get that. I'm a redhead. I was, genetically speaking, historically speaking, redheads were pretty much hated for a long time. Backed up all the way into a tiny little island in Scotland and England. So, I get it. I understand. But when I watch things like the NCAA basketball celebrations where the coach is white and the players are black, or vice versa, and they're dancing around and enjoying each other's time, or I'm selling a sandwich to somebody and they happen to be of another race, they're all good encounters. Hate is hate, and it can breed itself in any type of body. But as a general whole, I think we're all pretty educated and pretty accustomed to working with each other. So I think that this whole bring out Al Sharpton or bring out Jesse Jackson, who I don't see too much of lately, to incite race divide, to divide and conquer the neighborhoods and cities and states, that policy needs to change. Everything that I see from the mouths of the has-been bureaucrats these days is just horrible. It's like opposite day. It does feel like amnesia, a night in amnesia. And speaking of Tunisia, Glenn Beck used to have this little whiteboard at Fox News where he thought that a spark in Tunisia in the Middle East was going to set off World War III. And recently he said on The Blaze, his radio TV show, that he really feels that the New World Order is trying to take shape with Russia, China, and the U.S., which is also backing up what Joel Skousen has said. One more step further, you don't hear much about North Korea these days, and Iran keeps getting whispered about a little bit, but it makes you wonder if those things are just sitting in their pocket, laying in their hand as like a little joker wild card that they can play when they're really ready to start up this big kill-off with war. But let's go back to that. Let's go back to our foreign aid that we give everybody. We still gave it to Egypt, even though it was a military coup, even though verbatim that violated the premise of when a country can get foreign aid from the U.S. And that's just it. It's all about the priorities of the leadership, funneling your money away from your pocket and out of your states and country into another country. And they can get that hepatitis pill for $10 instead of $1,000 for you. Really? We pay for armed guards around the opium field so that they have opiates for all of these drugs in Afghanistan after a decade? Really? Look, there's no war on this stuff. A war is when there are two armies battling each other and you can see it. All of this other stuff is boogeyman and trumped up fake it's fake fiction stories to allow them to keep funneling your money away. Just think what $100 million a month or $80 billion, whatever they give to Egypt, just think what that would do for your state, for your community. Who knows, maybe you'd be able to have everything amazing in your area and then not even have to work a whole lot. Oh, but we don't want that. We can't have 320 million people just not work a whole lot at Taco Bell or at Walmart and then what would happen? They'd have time to grow their own food, sit at home and enjoy their family and actually be a father, be a mother, be a brother and sister on their own private land and enjoy their life. Maybe creating art like you're hearing on this music show. Come on, this is good music. It's not that crap that you keep getting handed to you on the top 40. So, these are some things to think about in this Night in Amnesia as we wonder why things are the way that they are. And I have to tell you, I think we can change it. I think we can change it for sure. I'm going to leave you with another tune off of Brass Poison 2 by Jim Manley out of St. Louis, Missouri. This is called Beirut. Hope you have a wonderful day. This is Eugene Sleeper Roundtree signing off with High Voltage News.